Hi everyone, thanks for joining in. I'm excited to have TM Logan joining me. Hi.
Hi, hello.
And you're becoming a bit of a regular with us, so great to be chatting to you again.
Well, it's nice to be invited back. So yeah, thank you. It's going to get to be a bit of a regular thing in my schedule. So, but yeah, I love to come along. So I can't wait to for the chat.
Yeah. So a little bit about Tim. Tim was a national newspaper journalist before turning to novel writing full time. His books have sold more than 2 million copies in the UK and published in translation in 22 countries around the world. And his latest thriller, The Dream Home, was published in February 2024, which became his fifth Sunday Times bestseller. The Holiday was a Richard and Judy book club pick and subsequently made into a four-part TV drama. And the novel The Catch was adapted for TV and is currently on Netflix in the UK. Tim lives in Nottinghamshire with his wife and two children. And yeah, thanks, Tim, for joining us again. Just wondering if you want to start off by telling us a bit about the dream home.
Yeah, so the Dream Home is a story about a family that moved into well, not a new, an old house, an old Victorian house in a part of Nottingham called the Park, and yeah, they kind of having that thing on the first day when they move in, and they're kind of exploring this place, and it's got lots of nooks and crannies and hidden lots of stuff left behind by the previous owner. And on the top floor, the dad Adam actually finds in the first chapter, he finds basically a hidden room behind one of the bedrooms, behind a wall in one of the bedrooms. There's a whole space up there which has got an armchair and a dresser with various drawers in it, and an old light. And it's clearly not been touched for a long time, for years and years. And he sort of becomes a bit intrigued and obsessed about, why the things that have been left there, why are they there, and who put them there, and why did this room get built in the first place? So and it's sort of inspired a bit by something which happened. I mean, a bit similar to some friends of ours when they did actually buy a new house, and they did discover this kind of void in one of the rooms. There was so they deliberately, the previous owner or a previous owner had built kind of an extra space that
Oh,
was hidden
really? Yeah.
with 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 some some like they did find some things in there which have obviously been put there for safekeeping, a long time before, and
Mm.
for whatever that previous owner had, I guess, probably forgotten about them, or they'd moved on or whatever. So yeah, I had a little bit of inspiration from real life.
And you were telling me just before we went live that you've recently moved house yourself. Were you searching around for a hidden room in your new home?
I have, yeah, I've done a bit of that. I mean, it's a bit more of a modern house where we are now, but I haven't found anything too scary yet. But yeah, it was kind of the two things. So writing this book and then the whole moving house and trying to look at
Mm.
house were happening in parallel. So we were looking for trying to sell our house for like more than a year, because obviously the market is not great in the UK at the moment. But
Mm.
that was all kind of, I was writing as we were going to view houses and going through that whole kind of process of house hunting. So it was quite weird to be doing it in fiction sort of, and in real life as well. But
Mm.
yeah, so we just moved in January, on January 5th, to a new place here. So I've got a new little cabin, which is where I am now. And yeah, with all my books, I'm just sort of getting stuck into the next book at the moment. So
Yeah, and I'm loving your bookshelf. Your bookshelf looks great.
yeah, it's got some of my I've got lots of books up here that I've sort of loved myself and have kind of inspired me, and I've also got some of my own, like, UK paperbacks. I've got some foreign translations in the back here. Um,
Have you
so
got a favorite?
yeah,
I know some of them, like the covers are
got that
so
one.
different in different languages and that. Have you got something interesting you can show us that's got like a really different sort of cover?
Yeah, because some of them, like, so you've got, so with the holiday, you've got some that are kind of, you can
Oh,
tell
yeah.
probably
Mm.
what that's going to be. That's the Greek version of the holiday. But then you also get some which are a bit more
Oh,
abstract.
yes,
So
that's
that is,
very. So is
the
that the
category of
holiday as well?
translation. Oh yeah, so you can it's got just up there. It's very small writing, but and then you've got some of them, and then you got some. This is the catch.
Oh
So again,
wow.
it's
Yeah, that's
fine. It's similar to the original, but it's obviously they put their own sort of spin on it. And that is, I always keep a little note inside. It's Hungarian. Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, so some of them will use the exact same cover as the like the UK version, and some will
Mm.
go quite different, or they'll sort of have a bit of a variation on it. So, but yeah, it's nice. So I've got those, and I've got loads and loads of my sort of files and notes and notebooks and stuff like that, all in here. So yeah, it's good. It's a bit smaller than my last cabin, but it's yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far.
Mm.
So.
Mm. And just reminding people watching, if you do have any questions for Tim, please type them and I can read them out. Liz has a question for you. She wonders if you've got any book recommendations for us of anything you might have read recently.
I read a lot of books that are kind of coming out quite soon, so advanced review copies. And
Mm.
one of them I've had recently, which I really loved, was called Our Holiday by Louise Candlish.
Okay, yeah,
You
I've
might
heard that one, but haven't read it yet.
so
Mm.
you might know her. She had a book called I think she had The Last Passenger. She had The Heights, Our House, which was the one that was made into a TV show. But this one, Our Holiday, is I think it's coming out in the UK in July, and it's about so second homeowners. So the people in London who have second homes on the south coast of the UK, and they kind of come down for the summer, and the clash that they have with the sort of local people who are
Mm.
being priced out of their own sort of hometown effectively because of the prices are all going up. So, but that's a whole kind of murder mystery family drama thing, and that was really really good. Just finished that quite recently. I think it's early July. It's coming out here, so that's one worth looking out for. I read the new C.L. Taylor, Every Move You Make, which was really good, and I'm just at the moment reading Sarah Pierce. She wrote The Sanatorium a
Okay,
couple of years
yeah, I
ago.
think I've
I
read
think it was
that one,
massive
yeah.
everywhere, and her new one's called The Wilds, and that again is coming out June or July, I think. And that's really good, set in Portugal. What else? I had the audiobook of something by Ruth Mancini called I think it's called Woman on the Ledge,
Okay.
which is really 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 good. And I've not come across her before, not read any of her stuff before, but that was I really really enjoyed that as well. So
Mm.
yeah, that one's out now, so that's kind of a bit more current. So
Mm. Okay,
yeah,
thanks for those recommendations. We always
no
love
worries.
adding more books to our piles of reading. Belinda, she's got similar thoughts to me. She said she loves all your books, and have to admit, I've given 5 stars to all of your books. And I'm halfway through reading The Dream Home. I haven't quite finished reading it, but Belinda said The Dream Home is another great thriller. Lots of red herrings to keep you guessing right up to the end. She wonders if you always know how things will end when you begin.
I normally have a fairly good idea, but it can change. So I'll normally know roughly where I want to end up. But I don't know quite how I'm going to get there. So I'll do some planning and some thinking about some of the key points of the story. But yes, I think with the Dream Home, I had a fairly good idea of where I would end up and how I would get there. But with other books, so with the Curfew, for example, that was something that came sort of the ending of that came sort of to me in the writing of it. So I wasn't certain how it was going to end, but it developed as I was writing it. So, but normally I do like to have a kind of a reasonable idea of where I'm gonna finish up, and who's going to be the who's going to be responsible for
Mm.
all the bad stuff. So because it helps you kind of to build the structure of the story and the arc of the story. If I have an idea of where I'm going, it helps me to sort of, and also because I'm writing a book a year, and I can't really afford to sort of get halfway and then have to scrap it all or start again.
Yeah.
But the timing, I've got to deliver my next book in June, the first draft anyway. So because I'm on a schedule, I don't have the luxury really of the time of starting all over again if something doesn't work. That's why I plan a bit more perhaps than some people, because I want to make sure that roughly what I'm writing is going to be good enough to go all the way through. So I'm definitely more of a planner than a pantser. As you probably speak to people who do it differently to me, but
yeah, and who don't know how it's going to end. And yeah. And when are you someone who has lots of thoughts in your mind of future books, or do you just start your book and think, what are you going to write?
I do have. I mean, I'll spend a few weeks kind of getting, trying to get the ideas together for the beginning of the book. But I do have a file of notes of stuff from before, going back probably, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years of things that I've just written down. So the dream home was something that the idea for that was when our friends told us about this thing they found in the house. That was when they moved in, so it's probably 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
And I just wrote a note and said, at the time, a couple of paragraphs, and then so when I come to, for looking for a new idea for a new book, I'll just go to one of the things I'll do is go to my sort of that file, that document, that Word document, and look through things and see it and have a think, and try to work out in my own head whether I think that's something that could potentially make a whole novel. So I wouldn't say I have loads of things going on at the same time. So when I'm writing one thing, I'm really kind of focused on. So the one I'm focused on now, which is book 9, I'm really sort of into that, and I'm not loads of other ideas for other books. Because I'm kind of I'll finish this one. I'll finish a draft in June, and then when I can park it, I'll then sort of start thinking about other things. The next book. So it's kind of a bit of I'm not great at kind of multi-tasking, so I kind of I'm doing one thing, I'm kind of focused on one thing, and then when I'm done, I'll kind of move on to the next one.
And Belinda wonders if you can tell us anything about your next book.
So the next book, it'll be number 9, will come out probably in early 2025. I'm not sure what the publication date will be for sort of Australia and New Zealand, but I think it will be 2 or 3 months.
Usually not much after.
This one really just kind of starts from the starting point is a woman going to pick her daughter up from uni, and first term she said she's gone to London, her daughter to university, and the mother's driving down there on the middle of December to pick her up. She's not seen her since the end of September, and she goes to the campus, parks her car, goes up to the hall and up to her daughter's room and knocks on the door, and a stranger answers the door, a lad answers the door, and she's like, "Oh, sorry, I forgot the wrong room." And the guy's like, "No, this is my room." She's like, "Well, she's literally dropped her daughter off there at the end of September, and then in between that and this day, the daughter's basically vanished. So she then sort of sets off, and because her daughter's 18, she's an adult, therefore she's not. The police are perhaps a bit less helpful than they might have otherwise been if the daughter had been like a younger teenager or a child. So that's the sort of starting point for the story, and it's kind of where has she gone, why has she done it, and where is she sort of, and the mum sort of realizes that she's sort of in more and more jeopardy and danger as she finds more about what's been happening in the last couple of months. So it's about 50,000 words at the moment. So I've got another chunk to write, but it's kind of going quite quick at the moment, the writing. So
sounds like another interesting one to read. And it sounds also like, with the books I've read of you have a lot of family connection books, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, I think that seems to be kind of something that I go back to quite often. I think that's in terms of motivation in the story. I think that's really, and for me personally, that's always kind of one of the big motivating forces, I think, in my own life. So it's quite for as a thriller writer, you're always looking for the things that are going to really going to be relatable, and going to get to the heart what people have maybe experienced in their own lives and stuff. So
Mm.
they do tend to be quite family oriented, and which is not to say, I mean, maybe I'd like to go in maybe a slightly different direction in sort of some future books, but because I think it's good to mix things up a little bit as well. But yeah, I will. They just tend to be the sort of stories that have kind of occurred to me, and I think, well, yeah, I'd read that if I was browsing in a bookshop, if I was looking on Amazon and I saw the blurb for this, I'd quite, because I always want to write a book that I would myself. So and they just tend to be obviously they're all thrillers, and that's what I tend to read most of. So yeah, so it's just kind of the family thing seems to be what I sort of gravitate towards, I guess, because it's my own, maybe because of my own sort of background and situation and stuff. So yeah.
And obviously a lot of people like reading that sort of thing because your books have done very well.
Yeah, it seems to be something that people really latched onto, and it's been amazing to see that, because it's not that long ago since it's like, where are we now, 20, so 7 years ago the first book came out, and in some ways it seems like a really long time, but in other ways it seems like it's hardly any time at all. And I remember that first book launch, and the first, when Lies came out, and kind of seeing it kind of doing well on Kindle first of all, and then with the sort of books that came after that, it's sort of amazing and surprising. It's still surprising to me to see that sort of get the feedback that I get. I sort of love the fact that people really connect with the books, and yeah, but I would never have predicted, what I sort of where I am now. I don't think I just. I was probably just hoping at the time I'd be able to carry on writing, and for them to be this well received. Yeah, it's amazing, really. So I love it.
And as you write more and more books, do you find more pressure to get better every time, or less pressure because you know that you've done well in the past with your books?
There always is some pressure, because you always think, well, can I do it again? Have I sort of what is my last book? Is that the end of the road, sort of thing? Or you don't think that. You kind of think, well, I know. On the flip side of that, was obviously you have done it before, and so you kind of know the process, and that I know that when it's about 30 or 40,000 words, you have that sort of you can have those doubts, and I always have the doubts around that point, because you kind of got so far into it that you can't really scrap it, but you've got to carry on, and the initial sort of burst of enthusiasm and energy is kind of been used up, and then you're into the sort of the middle and pushing towards the end, and it's but then, because when that happens every single time, which it does for me, then you come to expect it, and you're not really surprised by it anymore. So, and there's also the thing that when you're writing a book like the one at the moment I'm doing, it's a draft, and it's quite raw and rough, and compared to a published book, it's always going to look rough and raw. But again, that's just the process. So it'll be by the time it comes out, hopefully next year, it'll be as good as, or hopefully better than what's come before. Because I always try to make a bit better than the last one, and try to learn from what I've done before, and try and learn from other sources as well. So there is always that hope that I can make each one better than the previous book. So
yeah, and that's interesting you say about like learning from. Is there anything like you'd say you've consciously changed from when you first started?
I mean, I guess I've obviously moved into writing sometimes from multiple viewpoints sometimes, and I've moved into using different time frames. So with the Dream Home, you've got most of the story is happening in the present day, but you've also got these kind of little segments of going back quite a few years. I did that bit in The Mother, but again, that was merely because of the in The Mother, she goes to prison for 10 years. So I guess I'm always, it's more sort of tweaks and refinements, I guess, to what I'm, because I think there's always something to learn. There's always something to, I'm always reading like books about writing and trying to recognize what works and do more of that. But I think it is a bit more general and a bit more for me about planning and my day-to-day work. And I'm always changing that a bit and refining it. So now I'll try to, at the beginning of each day, I'll sort of spend 10 minutes sort of noting out what I probably want to write in the day. And from writing a scene, it'll be sort of, well, how does it start? How is it going to finish? And what are some of the key points? Which I've only done really for this book and the last book. But that helps really with the fluency of the writing when as I'm working in a day. And it means I can also cover more ground each day, so I can probably get more words done because I've got a better idea of where I want to go, rather than literally make it up as I'm typing it, which is not always the easiest to do. So yeah.
And Kim's got an interesting question. She wonders if you read your own genre while writing, or you prefer to read a different genre.
I do generally read. I mean, most of the books I read really are crime thriller type things. So yeah, I do read in the genre, and I always have an audio book on the go as well. So I have got some other ones because I've got a huge TBR pile, as I'm sure all of us have. But I've actually got another bookshelf by the bed because I had so many on the pile, all stashed under the bed. I've now actually got an actual shelf there to put them all in. There's about 50, but there's some historical stuff in there, some non-fiction, some some a bit more. So it is mixed up a bit with some other genres, but probably most of the time it tends to be crime and thriller because I find it quite inspiring, quite interesting to read other people's stuff, and I always love to find new authors that I didn't know before, and so I'm always, because I know that some authors don't read at all when they're writing. So I don't want to be like influenced by this person's blog or their character, whatever. But for me, I've always read every day, so I wouldn't like the idea of not reading for months and months at a time. Something I'll be bored. So, but yeah, generally crime and thrillers when I'm it's sort of my go-to genre. Is that, do you do all kinds of genres in your club, or is it just in the book club?
Sorry, what was that question? I didn't quite.
Do you do sort of, is it all kind of genres you
yeah, we do a big mixture of genre. Yeah.
How do you choose them?
We have a vote at the beginning of the year, we vote for them. But I have to say though that crime thriller seems to be one of the more popular ones, and maybe not as much fantasy and horror, and that probably not quite as popular.
Yeah, because is it called Romantasy, the books that I've seen?
They've become
massive in the UK at the moment. They're kind of top of the hardback top 10 charts and all that stuff. So I haven't really dipped my toe into that yet, but I'm quite curious as to that because obviously they're massive.
Yeah, and like the ones that the TikTok sensation one. Yeah. You haven't gone on TikTok yourself with your books?
I haven't yet. No, my kids will occasionally send me TikToks of things, but I haven't gone down that road yet. Now I know some authors that are on there, but I don't know. Maybe eventually I'll get on.
Yeah.
Not yet.
And this might be putting you on a spot a little bit, but any Australian authors that you like?
Well, I'll try and remember her name now. She wrote The Dry, and I've read 2 or 3 of hers. Who is it?
Jane Harper.
Jane Harper, yeah. Probably everybody says, but and I'm actually really bad at Australia. Is it Chris Hammer who's
yes, Chris Hammer, yeah. He's written some good ones.
Yeah. I don't know. Who would you recommend? If I was
have you read Michael Rowbottom?
No.
He's had one of his has been on Netflix as well. And I'm sure other people will have like Leanne Moriarty.
Oh yes, sorry, I read some Leanne Moriarty. Yeah. I read is it the one with the husband and the letter? That was really good. And I haven't read Apples Never Fall, but I know that's being made into a TV show. Isn't it?
Yeah, she's had a couple in her TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. And New Zealand authors, I'm a bit ignorant about that. I'm afraid. I don't know who would
Charity
recommend
Norman is a great one. Probably not quite as a little bit thriller, I think she is.
All right.
I'm sure other people can give me some other. Oh, Sally Hepworth.
Oh yes, I think
Yeah.
I've read.
She's-
Is it the mother? Not the mother. Is it the mother-in-law? Oh,
Yeah, the mother-in-law. Yeah,
Yeah.
and she's just had
I
a
did
new
read
one
that.
out, Darling Girls, I think it was called.
okay.
But yeah, she's another great one.
I'll have a
And
look. Yeah.
Kim wonders if you can see yourself continuing writing for a long time, or would you like to take a break?
I don't know. I've signed the contract I've got at the moment is for the book I'm doing now, and then 2 after that. So
Okay.
9, 10, and 11. So
Mm,
I guess the other day I did think, when I get to number 10 or at the end of this contract, it would be nice to have, because sometimes you hear about people having like a few months off or 6 months off or whatever. I don't know. I guess I really enjoy it. I'd like to carry on doing it for as long as people want the books. Really, I think so. I mean, a break would be nice, but then you always think, well, when I come back, the people have like forgotten about who you are and stuff. So I think I don't know. I'd like to do. I'd like to have at least. I reckon I'd like to have at least maybe 20 or 25. That would be quite cool. You look at the like the inside the flyleaf of like a Stephen King book, and it's like
Oh,
2
the
or
list
3
of the
for his books, and you think, wow, he's obviously been going since the mid-70s. But that'd be quite cool to have a good number. So I've not got any plans to take a break anytime soon. I don't think so. But we'll see. We'll see.
And anything special you do when you finish a book or your book's first published?
Well, when I finish, so I'll finish the draft in, as I say, first week of June, and yeah, I mean, that's always kind of a weird time because I'll send it away to my editor or my agent, and you do feel a bit lost because you've obviously spent 4 or 5 months with them, all the characters, and you feel a bit. But normally now, because my kids are no longer at school, they're kind of a bit older than that, so we'll normally now go away on holiday somewhere, sort of perhaps middle of June. Me and my wife will go away somewhere, and that's kind of sort of clear my head and get some headspace. So it's normally going away somewhere and then doing whatever it needs to be done in the house that I haven't done for the past 4 or 5 months. That's sort of, I'll get a list of things to do and do that. And then when the book comes out, it's obviously we'll do the usual stuff like have a launch on Facebook, and I'll do a physical launch in Nottingham, in Waterstones here. So, but
I'm gonna sneeze. Sorry, just 1 minute while I sneeze.
Yeah, but I don't know. Traditions are sort of just kind of keep on going, I suppose. There'll be it's good to have hardback. Like I get a hardback. I put some up on the shelf behind me, and then I don't know what other traditions you might have for. Yeah, I just sort of it's nice to see them kind of see the list of books kind of increasing as we go along. So.
And I'm sure you get lots of readers contact you. Is there anything you'd like to share with us that maybe something a bit unusual a reader said to you, or something that maybe really touched you, or?
I mean, yeah, I get emails from people and people message me on social media and stuff, and it's always lovely to hear from people who've enjoyed the books. And sometimes you hear from people who they say it's kind of got them back into reading, and that is always, for me, that's one of the best things to hear, because you hear people who are who have maybe read when they were at school and read when they were a bit younger, and they've just kind of lost the habit and sometimes I think the books that kids get taught at school are not necessarily the ones that are going to make them, you know, turn them into lifetime readers. But that's maybe a
Yeah.
different conversation. But then if they sort of fallen out of it, then they get someone gives them one books, or they see one in the library or in a bookshop and they read it, and it kind of reignites that spark. That's always quite special, for me to hear that it's been the thing that kind of got them back into it. So because I'm always trying to write a book that I like I say, that I think is putting the reader first and thinking about the reader all the time. That's why I always try to have these books that have got quite a lot of pace and make you want to carry on and pull you through the story. So yeah, but the messages are all normally you get the occasional sort of other type of message. That's part of the course, I think. And there's always people that will say, "Did you know that you got this wrong on page 243?"
People who like to correct you. Yeah.
But there is always, because weirdly there is always kind of one or two things that seem to slip through with every book. And
Yeah.
I think in the Dream Home, I've misused or accidentally transposed the word widow and widower.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how it happened, how it did it, and it got through all of the proofing stages and all of the, and it only appears, I think, probably twice in the whole book on 2 pages. So, but someone's said, "You do know that this is wrong." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah." So
some people are quick to point those things out, aren't they?
Yeah. So there's little, mostly the sort of detailed things like that just kind of slip through the checking process. But mostly people are very nice when they get in touch. So.
And Liz has a good question. She wonders if you have any superstitions or habits when you write, like a favourite pen or place or socks you need to wear.
I tend to. I'm always writing in the cabin, pretty much. I did when we first moved into this house, which was early January. I was in a bedroom for a while, and for about 6 weeks, and I had my back to the door, and I hate that. I hate having my back to the door. And I only remembered how much I don't like it when I was in there, because obviously I've got the headphones on when I'm writing. I can't hear who's coming in behind me. I don't know if someone's gonna, So I don't like that. That's one of my things that I don't like to do. But most of the time when I'm writing, I'm always wearing. I just tend to put on the same clothes in the morning and come downstairs, feed the cats and whatever, have some breakfast, and then go straight in the cabin. So I don't tend to look at social media or emails or anything else, or listen to the news before I start writing. I want to sort of keep my head in the book and not to get distracted. So I do have a few sort of weird little things like that, but yeah, and then but I'm also always aware that the first thing I need to do in the day is get open up the document and start working rather than getting distracted. So I always try to start get my words done first, and then everything else sort of follows after that. So
and do you set yourself goals for the day?
Yeah, so I'll tend to, it depends when I start working. When in the year I start working. But if I start working in like January, then I know that if I write about 6,000 words a week, that will be about right to take me through to early June for a first draft. So it tends to be that'll be either a weekly or a daily kind of target. That target is a bit more now, so I'm more looking at about 1,500 or 1,800 words at the moment, because I'm a bit behind where I need to be. So the target can be a bit variable, but it's normally between 12 and 1,800 words a day. So I just I've not got long, because I want to submit in like I say 3rd or 4th of June. I'm going to submit, which is about 5 weeks. So I need to get my words done. I haven't got my words done today, so I need to crack on after lunch today.
Yeah. Well, looking forward to finish reading The Dream Home. Hopefully I'll finish reading it in the next 2 nights. I can see I've got a lot of late nights ahead of me to finish reading it. And hopefully one day you might be out to Australia for a book festival. They have lots of crime writing festivals in Sydney. They've got a big the Bad Crime Writers Festival, I think it's called, and hopefully one day we might see you.
Yeah, I'd love to come out, and I've actually never been to Australia. So, like we were saying before, my daughter wants to travel out there in end of this year, and she was saying, she was saying to us last night, you could come over and you could come and see us in like January, and you could go and see the tennis and the
Mm,
Australian Open. And my wife's like, oh yeah, we could do
yeah.
that. So
You have to
she's
find,
really
yeah,
into tennis. So,
you have to check out what
so
festivals are on.
yeah, no, I would love to come over and see New Zealand as well. But I
Mm,
think it's one of those trips that need to be. I'd need to spend some time. Well, it's quite a few weeks, or I don't know, just to do it justice, and it needs to be a month at least, I think. So
yeah,
when that one,
exactly. Especially if you want to do
it'll be
Australia and New Zealand. Mm, yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
thanks so much for spending some time with me, chatting to me. And
No worries.
as I said, look forward to reading more of your books and hopefully catching up again another time.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me again, and yeah, hope you enjoy the dream home, and yeah, you know where I am for the next one. So if
Yeah.
you want to still to come back next year, then yeah, I'd love to come speak to you again.
Yep, sounds great. And thanks for everyone who asked the questions. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye bye.